Welcome back, and also good morning. Of course, this is the Goku Report. With that said, this is going to be a new top 10 list. This time, looking at 10 forgotten TV shows of the 2000s. Of course, not too long ago, I did 10 forgotten shows of the 90s. And sometime in the future, I plan on doing a top 10 forgotten shows of the 80s as well. And probably some more 90s, because there's many shows forgotten from the 90s. And specifically, if you'd like me to do one of these specifically under the category of maybe animated slash cartoons, or like 10 forgotten as well of a specific genre of TV or anime, up to you. But with that said, here's some honorable mentions of shows that I think some people have forgotten. Some of these are better well known than others, or some more people may remember than others. But still, I find for the most part, overall going audience has forgotten many of these. First of which was a big thing in the 2000s for PBS Kids, Dragon Tales. Next honorable mention, that some people have forgotten, except for the millennial crowd, which was the targeted demographic. Originally a series that was exclusive to the Disney Channel, and that being Lizzie McGuire, starring, of course, Hilary Duff. Also, forgotten shows That 80s Show, which was done in the 2000s, just like That 70s Show was done in the 90s. But more people remember That 70s Show rather than That 80s Show. Also, forgotten stuff from the era of Nickelodeon, The Amanda Show, which was sort of like a kid's take on, I guess you could say, a talk show. Best way to describe. Also, you had some interesting, unique crossovers that was like a combination between American and Japanese animated, but you could tell was heavily influenced by things like Batman the Animated Series. Pretty much the best way to describe it is Gundam meets, of course, Batman. And that is the series Big O, which would be on Toonami for 2 seasons total. But it has been relatively forgotten by most people, except for maybe those who actually watched it when it was on Toonami back in the day. But with that said, also honorable mentions, we have, of course, Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Also forgotten from what I've seen for the most part is a great, superb anime series I'm surprised a lot of people have forgotten from the mid 2000s. That is the original Last Exile series, done by Neon slash, also part of Neon slash Pioneer Entertainment, back when Pioneer was still doing anime. And the last honorable mention was a kind of interesting French based animated series, which I actually like the song. Like the normal in world stuff would be normal 2D animation, then when they go in the computer, it would turn into 3D. It was called Code Lyoko, which has become definitely a very forgotten cartoon of the 2000s. First, coming in at number 10 is a series that was a great, I think, family like series. Even though it leaned more towards like a sitcom, it did have some serious moments here and there. But it was a great quality show, I think, from Disney. Coming at number 10 was a really good animated series, I think, was great for all ages and for families. The Proud Family. Coming in number 9 is arguably, in my opinion, one of the more forgotten Gundam series, which is unfortunate because it's easily also probably one of the best Gundam series when it comes to actual quality. Though it would only have like between 12 and 13 episodes total, and it would not be part of the normal Toonami lineup. It would be part of what was done back in the day as the Midnight Run. It would sometimes come on like part of the midnight run with things like uncensored version Inuyasha or Outlaw Star and stuff like that. Coming at number 9 is the series Gundam the 8th MST, which I have talked about more than once, and is a Gundam series, arguably my third favorite Gundam series of all time. But I think more people need to check it out for the quality. Coming in at number 8 was a bit after my time, but most people today only remember elements of this show more so than the actual show, only remember for like songs and stuff, which you can find, of course, clips on YouTube. But back several years ago, this specific song would go viral like crazy, and that would be the song We Are Number One, which sort of became a meme. But coming at number 8 was a very unique show, was at times somewhat creepy, like puppets and stuff they would use. It definitely wasn't your family friendly art style design puppets of like Jim Henson Company. It's kind of really weird and stuff. The show was odd, but I'll admit I watched occasionally clips, mainly of the main villain, which reminded me a lot of Jim Carrey for some reason. Uh, but coming at number 8 is the kids series called Lazy Town. Definitely an interesting show, at least from what episodes that I did see of it back in the 2000s. Very unique compared to many other kid shows. Definitely different. But like I said, the main thing I liked was the over-the-top villain of the series. Coming in at number 7, arguably, it's sad that this specific era of the Twilight Zone was forgotten. Number 7 is, I think, arguably the most forgotten out of the 4 eras of Twilight Zone. You have arguably the most memorable, the original from like the 50s and stuff. Then you have the 80s version, which there definitely is hardcore fans of. I'll admit though, I'm a big fan of the 2002 version of the Twilight Zone. And yes, I'll admit I'm guilty of liking the sort of redone version of the Twilight Zone theme, which they would use new metal. And fun fact, the one who would do the guitar work and stuff on that version would actually be, if I remember correctly, was actually from Korn. Was the one who worked on the actual guitar riff and stuff for that version of the Twilight Zone. But to me, it's sadly forgotten by most people today. You can find quite a few episodes here on YouTube, in fact. Coming in at number 6 was a series that was like Twilight Zone, only got one season, though it would get. Or, take that back, actually, it did have more than one season. But it would end up not having a huge amount of episodes based on the popular, interesting movies from the 90s about these giant, like, worms and stuff that lived underground, though, that would occasionally evolve from one movie to another. Coming at number 6 is a very unique series called Tremors the Series. Like, says based off of a continuation of story and stuff from the actual Tremor movies. If you've never seen Tremors or anything like that, I recommend checking it out. It was very interesting, and the series was unique and stuff, and it was on Sci-Fi Channel back when Sci-Fi Channel was actually interesting. Coming in at number 5, arguably probably the most unique soap opera that ever existed. Though it would start in the late 90s, specifically 1999, it really was the 2000s. It would end up lasting a total of 9 seasons. Pretty long, but unlike many other, I think other than a very hardcore small base, are the only ones that remembers the show, though this would be the series that would give the start to really, well, a jump up in career to the actor Justin Hartley, which would become, of course, Arrow, or rather the Green Arrow in Smallville. He would start out in this show as a character called Fox Crane, grandson of the evil maniacal Alistair Crane, and son of Julian Crane. Um, this series, of course, is called Passions. Very unique. It's a supernatural soap opera is the best way to describe it, with a living doll named Timmy. Rest in peace to the actor who played Timmy. Also, you had, of course, unique characters like the evil witch Hecuba or the evil witch Tabitha Lennox, as well as goody goody two shoes like Charity, and would end up with an evil demonic version of herself called Zombie Charity. It's a very unique series and unique unlike any other soap opera, and I feel like it's a show even non soap opera fans could actually enjoy. Coming at number 4 is probably one of easily my personal favorite by Magical Girl, sort of. Well, it's a cross between Magical Girl meets mech anime combined into one. Very interesting series by at that time existed. English dubbing company ADV Films um, would do this very unique. I would say easily my favorite pink-haired anime character, and that is the interesting anime series called Still Angel Kurumi. It would last a total of technically 3 seasons, though only seasons 1 2 would get released here in the West. And today, the anime box set is starting to go up in price on eBay. On average, this is now going anywhere from $70 to $100 on eBay. So, keep that in mind. You can find some clips here on YouTube, easier to find Japanese dub with English subtitles. Coming in at number 3 is a very interesting, only one season and like 13 episode animated Spider-Man series, and it was exclusively to MTV. Yeah, kind of weird. It would air and come out after the first Spider-Man film. It is called Spider-Man the New Animated Series, which had more of like a cross between like a 2.5D, used a sort of cel-shaded art style, though this was back in the day when cel-shaded animation wasn't as common. So it was definitely a more experimental at the time. But I still think it's quite interesting. Coming at number 2 is for me, the beloved and somewhat forgotten in recent years series Heroes, which eventually I will get around to reviewing Heroes series. Now, they attempted, of course, a sort of like new version with Heroes Reborn, which ended up getting cancelled before the end of the only one season, which is stupid. But Heroes, and in my opinion, I still argue that season 1 of Heroes has made the best first season of a TV show of all time, in my opinion, for quality and everything. But yeah, for me, coming in number 2 of forgotten shows of the 2000s is Heroes, which, keep in mind, this came out back when superhero and comic book shows and stuff were not exactly as commonplace as they are today. Really, at the time when Heroes came out, really the only other show really you had live action wise was a series called Smallville, and that's about it. It had great villains, specifically one villain, which I really loved, Sylar. Coming in at number 1, which was aired at the same time frame as Last Exile, but would be on after it, airing weeknights and exclusively to G4 or Tech TV at that time. Is, of course, series an anime I've constantly talked about and I'm given praise to. It's an anime that has definitely been forgotten over the years, and it's unfortunate because the series is superb in actual writing. It is very intelligent written. The English dub is actually pretty solid. I think overall it's probably one of the best quality shows that actually makes you use your brain and think. And I appreciate shows like that. Coming in at number 1, I think of forgotten shows of the 2000s most people have forgotten about is the anime series, of course, Serial Experiments Lane. Sometime a few weeks from now, I may do a second one of forgotten 90s shows. Let me know if there's any other decade you'd like me to put together. One of these lists, maybe another one for the 2000s, heck, even put together eventually the 2010s or the 80s. There's definitely many forgotten shows of these time periods I remember that blow me away most people have forgotten. But with that said, I'll see everyone next time, and stay safe out there in YouTube land.